Hi, my name is Rob Kinelski, and I'm a mix engineer based in Los Angeles, California. I was born in New York, and then I grew up in New Jersey, and then I started my career in New York City. And I was there for a few years, and then I moved out to Los Angeles about 15 years ago. I grew up in a town called Howell, New Jersey. It's in Monmouth County. It's near Asbury Park. It was cool. It was a good town to grow up in. There was a good music scene too in my age group. That a lot of the people in my circle, everyone was playing music, and it was a good community. It was good. Originally, I was in a band. I played bass, and I was with the guys from my hometown. We started a band. That was my goal, was to be a rock star. And we played and booked our own tours and about to get a record deal. And then the night before the record deal, our drummer broke his hand before the showcase, or the night before our showcase for the record deal. And then that set off a chain of events, just spiraled. We played, we weren't very good, we didn't get the deal. And then the band kind of ended. And at that point, I was like, I don't really want to be in a band because I want to have more control over my future. So I was really into the whole studio aspect when we were making records. So I said, I want to be a producer. So how do I do that? And I didn't know. And I figured, oh, I think I'm supposed to be an engineer first. So I looked around and I wound up going to this school in New York called SAE. My first instrument was trombone, and I was in elementary school. And then I also play bass. After the band broke up, and then I started going to school in New York, SAE, and I did that for about a year, and then wasn't sure what to do next. So I actually partnered up with a friend, and we opened a studio. He had a studio in his apartment, and he brought me in as a partner, and we upgraded it to Pro Tools, and we started working with bands in town and in the area. And I was producing bands out of an apartment in Belmar, New Jersey, and that was great. It was an amazing experience, but I felt that I needed to leave that bubble I wanted to work on bigger records, so I figured I needed to get out and go to like New York. So I went to New York and I knocked on every studio door with a resume, and I like tried to get it in the door. And most of the times they wouldn't even open the door. And then I had a friend who worked at Sony Studios in New York, and he was able to get my resume into the right hands, and I got an interview. And they said, okay, well, we don't have any jobs. And I said, okay. So I called them every week, checking in for almost a year. Then the one day, this guy, Mike, who was there, he said, I got a job. So cool. So I started working there. I was a nighttime GA, general assistant. So I did the night shift, midnight to 8 a.m. And that was the beginning. It was just a bunch of chain events of just following opportunities and things that look interesting. So when I got the job at Sony, there's a lot of competition, and I wanted to work. I wanted to succeed. So I just, took every open shift, and I stayed late, and I said yes to things, and I tried to find ways to, be in the room. Because in the beginning, you weren't allowed in the room. You just were in the basement next to the boiler room with all the broken chairs. And we ran like the rental gear department. So we would just like push gear on carts and wipe down tables. And that was like the beginning. Just to get into there, I just said yes to everything and tried to be the best in the room at what my job is, right? So eventually that turned into some opportunities, get on some sessions. I wound up getting promoted to assistant engineer. My first big session was Beyonce's second album, B-Day. And I was the assistant engineer on that album, and I would set up the mics, get the room all ready, make sure she had her food and everything was good. And then just by being in those sessions and watching and learning how to interact with the artist and how to, work with people at a high profile, how to be invisible but visible, how to be of service, like how to, and then just by learning that and doing it, things were going good. I thought I was going to be, launching into a new chapter, and then the studio closed. Sony Studios closed. I didn't know what to do. I decided I didn't want to go back and work my way up through another studio. So I decided to go freelance. I've been freelance ever since. That was, I think, in 2005 or 2006. I forget exactly when that was. I think I got really good at tracking. I started working with a lot of songwriters. I was cutting demos and doing rough mixes, like maybe 3, 4, 5 songs a day, just like recording and doing a quick mix, and then just doing that and practice and practice and practice. And then eventually I moved to LA because I felt I was kind of like locked in to a certain rate. In New York, I couldn't really get what I was looking for. And so I moved out here and I linked up right away with a gig and just kind of kept it going. So my first gig in LA was with No ID, and I worked with him for a few years, about 4 years, I think. And there I was recording and mixing and, you know, doing all that stuff. Yeah, my first mentor was this guy, Jim Caruana. He's still an engineer. He's lives out in LA now. That's where I learned, like, the way to behave in a session, the way to, take care of the artist. And I would do random sessions for other people, whatever I could, right? I just started kind of really getting into that with some bigger mixers. And then that's when the studio closed. So then at that point, I was like kind of on my own. But up until then, I just, was assisting all the top engineers in the city. I think I've always believed that I could do this from the beginning. And even when I was doing those records in the apartment, I felt really confident in what I was doing and putting out. I guess I look back in time and I'll look at some of those things I did earlier in my career and I'm like, wow, that's great. It's really good. Or I'll look back at some things and be like, wow, that was terrible. It's just all part of the growth process. But I think really just when people call you back the second time, then you kind of start getting that validation. But I'm still just always striving to like get better. I always just want to keep improving, keep learning, keep growing. I've had a lot of turning points in my career, and they usually happen right before I'm about to quit. The Beyonce project was huge. That like opened up a lot of like relationships for me because I'm in the room with people who are, making albums and stuff. Coming out to LA, working with No ID was like incredible. Getting put in all sorts of sessions, all different people. That was a big pivotal moment. And then leaving that situation and going out on my own, that was another chapter of like kind of learning again and trying to build a client base. And I thought it would be easier and being solo, and it wasn't that easy. It was like a awakening, like, oh, this is actually, this is a grind. I would just do whatever. I would mix whatever, like I wanna do this. So this is it. So I did things of every kind of genre. A couple projects started to go after like in my solo era. One of them was that first Little Dicky album did well. I mixed that. LP was a big one because that actually led to a couple other things that eventually led to me working with Billie Eilish, which that project like basically changed my life. That when the EP came out, it was a big success, and then the album came out, and I didn't know what was in store, and it was just like huge. And all of a sudden, people wanted me to do interviews on cameras. Shout out to those people. But yeah, that album, like, and it was just done effortlessly. It was just trying to do what we like want to do and like, and not overthinking it, and just kind of coming from like an organic place and like doing your best. Years and years of just working at this, and then that one opened up a lot of doors. That was a really amazing, and I'm grateful for that. After that album came out, I got very busy, and everyone was interested in working with me. Before the album came out, when the EP was out, I got a call to work with Carol G, and we did a song together. It was this remix she had with Jesse Reyes, and it like did really well. And she liked the first pass. It wasn't normal that she would like the first pass, so that was like a good connection already. And then the next song I mixed for her was this song called Tusa, which is one of her biggest songs of all time. I had her and Nicki Minaj on it. It was huge, and I've been working with her ever since. So I did 2 albums with her, full albums, and then the last one I did a few songs on, a couple of the singles. That's been a whole nother chapter that I think came originally from maybe that earlier project, right? And then I've gotten to work with a lot of different, like, all over the spectrum. I think just being on people's radar, I got to work with Ozzy and Motorhead to do this song. I got to work with Weezer, which is like a band I loved growing up, a huge fan of in high school. And still to this day, they're awesome. So I got a call from U2. I got to work with U2, which is like, it's kind of crazy. I'm just some kid from New Jersey that, that put the time in. And I know I'm talented, and I know that, but, there's a little bit of luck involved. You get linked up and and then the stars align and you get these opportunities. It's been cool. It's been humbling. It's been, a really cool experience I'm grateful for, that I get to do cool things. A lot of times I find myself going back to music I listened to when I was younger before I was working on music. And then I just try to go into the mindset of a fan, of the kid who like in their bedroom listening. And so I'll go back to older stuff that I grew up listening to, or even recently I was playing some like Sublime albums from the past, just like, and I just heard it differently this time. Like I was like, wow, like any kind of band or genre I go back to just to feel this sort of connection again. It's not so much listening to new music because I feel like I'm part of new music. So I don't do a ton of research of like what's out. Like I don't like, I know some people like are like always on like what's next and what's new. And I'm kind of open to all that. I'm kind of, my mind feels like really open to anything new. I don't want to judge it. So I like to listen to things I've already judged like a long time ago. That's inspiring to me. Or maybe just going for a walk. Like I need to maybe just get some fresh air sometimes, or maybe I'm not sleeping well. Or I think health, mental health. I'm a daily meditator. That when I started doing that about 10 years ago, that was a big game changer for me. Just slowing things down, getting me more present, but really just trying to like serve the artist, do the like bring everything I could possibly bring to them. I don't know the answer to that one. I think the way I keep my chops up is just keep doing it. I just show up every day, try to bring my best, and I know that's always evolving, So I think I'm just like, by keep on doing it, I'll keep my chops up. I think I learn from just the people around me. My wife is in this business, so she always will push me on, like, encourage me, like, just she's always been on my side, is always like pumping me up to like, keep going. Or my assistant Eli is great. Like he'll like, if I'm like turn around like I feel like doing it today, he'll just say, "Well, just do it." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, good point." So we have a good relationship there. Analog is like pure. Digital is opportunity. The analog stuff, there was a time it was only a few people were making albums and records, and most people couldn't afford to do it. Like you needed to have a big record deal, a big budget to go into a real studio. Even when I was in my band, like in the early 2000s, like we needed someone to back us to go in and get studio time for like 1 or 2 days. And then we had to buy tape and all that. It was a big expense. And then you had to get it right. You couldn't really, and then now what digital's done is it's given us all that stuff like right here in your bedroom or in your studio or whatever. And it keeps getting better and better and better. I still like using the analog stuff because part of that I like it because I feel like it does something. I feel like you're adding this like electrical current into it that isn't clone of that. But I'm not like a snob in any kind of way. I don't sit there and go, "Oh, I could tell that was digital," or "Oh, that," like there are times I've listened to mix I did on a console and a mix I did in the box, and if I would blindly choose, and I'll pick the in the box mix a lot of times. It's just analogs. It's expensive and it's not as convenient. And then the workflow today is like song, song, song. You don't have the ability to recall consoles all the time. It's just like people don't think that way at the moment. I feel like. No, I use analog in a very streamlined way where I'm able to hop from song to song on a fairly quick basis. And so I think there's a way to work with both. It's like a beauty to have them in harmony together. I use Pro Tools because that's what I know. I learned that. That was what I focused on. And that's it. That's my own reasoning. I have nothing against the other ones. It's just that's what I've been using the whole time. Right now I'm mixing. I used to track a lot. I done production, done that. Currently I'm just mixing. But I'm open to doing more of the other stuff at some point. I'm kind of like missing parts of it. Being in the studio while something's being created is a pretty magical thing. And I remember when I first went out just mixing, it was a very lonely process. I was like, "Oh, this is like very isolating." It's all part of the process. And I think when people are willing and open to letting all those parts of the process be their fullest, you get some pretty amazing stuff. I think the best formula is when each of those different phases are empowered and not constrained. When you're tracking, you're mixing, that's kind of the beginning of it. The best tracking engineers are the ones that can mix pretty quick too, and then you make a choice. Like, are you going to make the jump, to just mix, or are you going to, it's not an easy jump. It's not, it's going to take faith. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take insanity. Is not being in an office, not having, I have bosses, I have a boss every day. It's different, right? My clients, I work for them, but not having like a corporate structure. It's an honor to be invited into someone's process, their album, cool. And what I like about this job is I get to work on a lot of different projects. I think each of the levels too, you get to work with more, right? The tracking person might work with less artists than the mixer, because the mixer's, maybe doing more different projects throughout the year. And then the mastering engineer, it's like, forget about it. They're doing, an album a day, maybe two. So I think it's a sweet spot where I'm at, where I feel like I get to work on a lot of different stuff. I get to stay energized and excited with new stuff all the time. When I'm mixing, I feel like I can kind of make my own hours a little bit, which is nice, because before that, I'm always at everyone else's hours and I got burnt out. I think that's it. I don't have one, man. I'm too blessed to be stressed. So I have no complaints. I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. I'm grateful. I don't have any complaints. I don't. This is like one of the coolest jobs you could possibly have. I remember hearing the first song I worked on the radio was this Beyonce song I remember I was on a trip and I heard one of these B-Day songs, Deja Vu, came on the radio, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So it doesn't really ever get old. You hear stuff in public. I like hearing it in the car. I look at someone rocking out something. Yeah, that's fun. Or seeing it on a movie, or seeing it on TV, or it's cool. The ones that make the most successful records, I think, are just being really authentic to themselves, and maybe the people around them. And that's it. And they're doing what they want to do. They're not making it for someone else. I think that's like the key. If I was telling an artist, I'd be like, that's what you got to do. In any part of this job, be authentic to yourself. Don't try to make something for someone else. I never thought of it really. And I think working with a new artist is so exciting, because the potential is just like endless, and I've been a part of a lot of projects where the new artist becomes a big artist, and that's like the best part to watch. That journey is amazing. I treat every project the same. I don't mix it differently for, maybe a bigger artist or like a newer artist, or I just kind of try to bring my best to everything and hope they like it. I don't know. It's just me. So that's the unique part. I guess I don't try to do anything what other people do. Maybe that's why, but I don't know what makes me unique. Sometimes when you turn your passion into your business, it kind of messes with the passion part, right? Because it's still a business. So there's that, but really just grateful, really, that I get to do this. I know I'm supposed to be here. I know I worked hard to get here, but I'm grateful that it is. Communication. I think communication is important. I think you gotta say what you want. If it's your team, if it's your managers, lawyers, assistants, or whatever, I think clearly communicating is a key element to running a business. Somebody once told me that the cool thing about having your own business is if you need more money, you can just go make it. And I don't know what that means, but that one day when I needed the money, I heard that and I was like, okay, perfect. That's amazing. I'll use that for forever. And you get to just create new opportunities for yourself. You're not like locked in. But I think you need to always be looking forward. Don't get too caught up in the past. Be present, but looking forward. Adapt and evolve and follow where things are going. Don't get stuck in your ways. Things are always changing. Also, be of service to your clients. That's important. I wouldn't want to talk to a younger version of me. I might throw off the trajectory. I'll just let it be. I say, good job, kid. Keep it up. I'll say don't stress, man. It's going to be fine. Like, even when times get quiet or slower, it's fine. You just got to keep going and enjoy that time. If it's a little slower one week or something, just enjoy that time, because it changes, So don't worry. I would say trust your gut. Don't take things too serious. Be kind to everyone because that takes you places. In these days, there's not as much mentorship as there was when I came up. So I think it's important for me to share like any information I have with people out there because it's not the same. It's not where you could go into a studio and there'd be 20 people all sharing knowledge. It's not like that anymore. It's different kind of. So I like to share.